What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. So with the Six Nations being over now, I'm seeing all over the place on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all these different places, people doing their Team of the Weeks, Team of the Tournaments, top 5 players, top 10 try scorers, all these top lists of the best players from the tournament. But it got me thinking, you know, there's a lot of players in this tournament that I thought played extremely well, but maybe don't top the stats charts, and maybe you won't be seeing named for player of the tournament or involved in different people's team of the tournaments. They maybe just sort of fly under the radar a little bit by the end of the Six Nations being over. So I thought I'd mix it up a little bit today and do a bit of a different video and talk about 5 players that exceeded my expectations. So this way, it's not talking about the best of the best, amazing players that perform well every single week. So we won't be talking about the likes of Dupont and Josh van der Fleer and Keelan Doris, but instead looking at players that, when going into the tournament, I thought, these are some good players. I'm sure they'll have a good tournament, but looking back at the Six Nations, they truly exceeded my expectations and I thought played really well. And I just thought this would be a bit more of a fun way rather than seeing the same names everywhere over different forms of social media. Now, of course, with it being exceeding expectations, there's a personal element to it. It was my expectations going into the tournament versus how they performed. There might be some players on this list that you would put in your team of the tournament. There might be some players in here that you already think, wow, they're already amazing. I'm surprised they exceeded your expectations. It's a bit down to personal opinion. So I welcome everyone to drop down in the comment section some names of some other players that you guys thought really exceeded your own expectations and maybe why you thought that, and drop them down in the comment section. That way we can all have a look and show a bit of appreciation for some other players that perform well across the tournament. Now, I came up with a bit of a list and thought about some different players. I've narrowed it down to 5. They're not going to be in any particular order because it's sort of personal opinion. No real way to break it down into personal order, but just fun to run through 5 players. So the first player that jumped to mind was Thibaud Flament, and what a great tournament this lad had. Now, going in, France lost Cameron Vokey from that lock department, and he's such a big player for the France team. I was a little bit worried to see how France were going to get on with him missing. Thibaud Flament coming in, didn't know a lot about him from sort of club level, didn't know how he was going to be performing. I sort of knew a bit about him that he used to play fly half for like a 5th team in like a university or something. So I wasn't expecting amazing things from him. I was hoping he was just going to keep the ship steady for France. But what a superb tournament from him. 3 tries across the tournament, 2 in 1 game. You know, absolutely fantastic. You don't get to talk about locks scoring tries enough in international rugby. I thought he did really well to get 3 tries. Minutes played. 400 minutes played. He played in every minute of every game across the Six Nations, which is a hard ask for a lot of players, especially a forward who gets involved in tackles and rucks. He's involved in the lineouts and stuff as well. I thought that's absolutely exceptional. Didn't miss a single minute. And I think a bit of a testament to him as a player, being able to play all those minutes. Also sort of wrapped up into these 400 minutes played was his tackle count. 81 tackles made out of 84. So a 96% tackle rate across the Six Nations. And after playing every single minute of every game for France, managing to rack up 84 tackles and only missing 3, that is quite an incredible percentage. I think that's a fantastic work rate from him in terms of defence. We certainly got to see it across the Six Nations. He was involved with so many tackles across it. Thought he was a really good player. In terms of lineouts, 17 lineouts won, along with 1 steal, a massive impact. So, you know, are they really missing Cameron Vokey when you've got a player like Thibaud Flament doing so well in that lineout? And one of the big talking points about this was when Cameron Vokey comes back, will he be getting a place? Because Thibaud Flament, I think, has been playing exceptionally through this tournament, and I wouldn't be dropping him. He was in my fantasy league every single week and performed well in every single week in that as well. I think France have got a real star on their hands with Thibaud Flament coming into the side. Next one on the list then for me, James Ryan. Now, a couple of you might be thinking, wow, Mad Dragon, an international lock for the best team in the world, had managed to exceed expectations. That's quite incredible. A lot of people already rate James Ryan as a really solid player. But for me, James Ryan's always been one of those players. I've always thought of him as a bit of a penalty vacuum for Ireland. I've always sort of seen him in different games giving away a number of penalties, whether it's in the line out or grabbing the arm or just getting things wrong. Injuries have always sort of come his way as well. There's always seems to be a little injury here or there for James Ryan. Might not be able to finish a full game. And it's been a little bit frustrating in the past when you've had him in fantasy teams if he doesn't play the full game, or just how many points he was losing because of the penalty counts going against him. But in this tournament, I thought he really stepped up. I was really nice to see from him. 2 tries along the way. Had some fantastic breakaway tries, which is always nice to see from a lock running with the ball in hand. Tackles for him, 66 out of 68, so sort of similar to Flament in terms of his percentage. 97% of tackles getting in. Really good work from him. 13 lineouts won, including 5 stolen lineouts. So he was the top performer in terms of being able to steal lineouts. You know, absolutely what you want. That lineout for Ireland is such a big platform. We've seen it utilized in so many games where they launch their set piece from, but also just to make a mess of other teams' lineout and take away that platform for them. Having someone like James Ryan who's going to be able to get 5 steals in there as well is also really good. And also similar to Thibaud Flament, played the full 400 minutes. And for me, when I sort of think about the best lock in Ireland, I always tend to lean towards someone like Ty Byrne. I think he's such a good all-round player, but being able to play 400 minutes, he managed to avoid the injuries. He kept the penalty count relatively low. He still had a few penalties going against him. I think it was 4 by the end of the tournament, but I thought he had a massive improvement for me, and that's why I've decided to put him on this list. Next on the list then, a player I've actually not heard a lot of people talking about in terms of team of the tournaments and stuff, which I thought was a little bit surprising. Huw Jones. I thought Huw Jones played absolutely fantastically going into this tournament. Chris Harris has been such a massive part of that Scottish midfield, and putting Huw Jones back in the side, I was a little bit concerned. I rate Chris Harris now as a very good defensive centre. I was a bit worried how Huw Jones would be able to get on, whether that might have been a misstep, but over the course of the Six Nations, he's kept Chris Harris out. I think Chris Harris only played about 13 minutes across the entire tournament, and Huw Jones has absolutely grasped it with 2 hands. 4 tries in this tournament, the second highest, or joint second highest in the tournament for him, and so many fantastic tries, an absolute attacking threat for that Scotland team, working alongside Tui Piloto. I thought he played extremely well. Minutes played, 396 minutes, so only lost 4 minutes. I actually don't know where those 4 minutes went. I feel like I saw him for every game. He must have literally come off right at the end of the game, also in 76th minute in one of the games, and I just don't really remember where that was. He was absolutely fantastic over every minute I saw him on the field. Meters made, 441 meters made with the ball in hand, coming up against tough defences from the likes of France and Ireland. You've got this lad making big ground. He was the 6th highest for meters made, but a lot of those other top 6 you've seen are from the French and Irish side, where they don't have to deal with their own defence to get through. So I think that's very good from Huw Jones. Defenders beaten, 15. Again, 6th highest in the tournament, but again, he's only really beaten by 4 French players who aren't having to deal with their own defensive work, and also Cabwotso, who of course only played a few games, but actually managed to do extremely well for defenders beaten. He's a slippery old player, but I thought Huw Jones had a fantastic tournament and really managed to exceed my expectations of being picked over Chris Harris. Moving back to the forwards then, another player that absolutely shone for me in this one, Sebastian Negri for Italy. I thought was really good. There was a couple of Italian players actually that really stood out. I've seen a lot of people talk about Fischetti. I thought he played really well as well. But Sebastian Negri for me, I thought was doing an extremely good job for Italy. Got his 1 try. It's a shame we didn't get to see him do more, because he certainly was running very hard with the ball in hand. Tackle rate still really good for him, 45 out of 50, about 90% for him. So that's still a high percentage. I wouldn't really be expecting internationals to be getting too much lower, but still nice to see maintaining big tackle rates. That Italian team was put on the back foot for a lot of different games. So nice to know that you can depend on someone to get a 90% tackle rate is pretty good. Another stat showing off for him, meters made, 227. He was the 2nd highest for meters made out of all the forwards. He was only beaten by a fellow Italian player, Lorenzo Cannone. So nice to see 2 Italian players fighting for that. In fact, Lorenzo Cannone absolutely could have been on this list. He was also very, very impressive as well. And defenders beaten. 11 defenders beat him for a forward. Really nice to see, making a real nuisance of himself with the ball in hand. But one of the reasons I've gone for Negri was just his massively supporting attitude for the team, just all over the field. Used as an individual a lot of time to set up for exits for Italy. I know we saw Italy trying to play out of their own 22 quite a few times this one, but if they were going to go for the box kick or they were going to try and clear it, the guy they were always going to be chucking the ball to, Sebastian Negri, carrying the ball to the line and just getting those extra few carry meters just to get you a bit close to the edge of the 22 and allow a better box kick or a better clearance from your fly half. Used an absolute unit, and I thought he did an extremely good job over the tournament. And then finally, one of the players, considering we're talking so much about the fullbacks and how well Thomas Ramos did for France with his kicking towards posts and getting a couple of tries and making a real nuisance of himself, someone that I think absolutely deserves a bit of credit, Hugo Keenan. I thought he was fabulous throughout this entire tournament. I've always thought of Hugo Keenan as a really good fullback. He does a lot of sort of behind the scenes work, but in this tournament, I think he was absolutely crucial for Ireland. He managed to score 2 tries over the Six Nations, which is really nice to see a fullback getting involved with the attacking work and just leaning on someone's shoulders to get across. Meters made by a fullback, 564. He was actually the top for meters made out of any player in the Six Nations. So just running with that ball in hand all over the place. Defenders beaten 11. I think 3 of them actually came from one of the tries where he got up from Bundyaki. I think he just sort of ran through about 3 of them at one time. But fantastic from him in terms of attacking circles. Defensively, though, one of the areas I really want to talk about, tackles made. He only got 17 tackles, but I have put an exclamation mark next to tackles because one of the things that really impressed me about Hugo Keenan is out of those 17 tackles, so many of them were crucial tackles, one-on-one. If you don't make this tackle, the other team's going to score a try. They're going to have a massive break. You need to be on the line. And time again, Hugo Keenan getting off his line, reading an attack well, absolutely stopping it single-handedly by himself, or just sometimes stopping try-scoring opportunities. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Something else that would really impress me, just supporting the team consistently in rucks. He's always on someone's shoulder in case someone got tackled and the forwards weren't there in time. Always involved in the rucks, but he's also on someone's shoulder ready for an attacking threat. He was used as a dummy runner because people were worried about him, but he was also there ready to receive an offload, so an absolute nightmare for defensives to deal with against him. Did play 360 of 400 minutes. Of course, he went off against that England team. Forget what you think about the red card scenario, whether it was a red card or not, all that stuff. But I think for everyone, I think it was a real shame we just didn't get to see him finish that tournament and finish that final 40 minutes. He played every minute up until then, just didn't come back after that red card incident. But it was a real shame not to see him finish out the tournament as strong as we got to see him for the whole tournament. So I absolutely think he deserves to go on my list. But there we go, guys. That's 5 players for me that exceeded expectations in the tournament for the Six Nations 2023. Like I said, drop down in the comment section someone else that really exceeded your expectations. Let's show some appreciation for some of the players that may not be being made player of the tournament or a lot of people's team of the tournaments, what have you, because there were so many other people that I think played really well, and I think it's nice to sort of show that appreciation for some of the other rugby players. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.